I just hit 5 years of sobriety in my 20s. I'm currently 26 years old. I got sober when I was 21, and so it's been the most life-changing decision that I've ever made, and I wanted to share with you guys 7 things that I've learned while being sober in my 20s. By any means am I trying to tell people that drugs are their problem or that they should get sober. This is simply my experience and the benefits that I've reaped as a result of getting sober at 21. So, number one is sobriety gave me the courage to get out of my comfort zone. So, when I got sober, I was placed in a position where I had to start doing things differently because simply what I was doing was not working for me. I mean, I was getting high every day, I was getting drunk every day. And so when I got sober, I was placed in a position where I had to face my feelings, I had to admit my wrongs, I had to do a lot of uncomfortable things like leveling my pride and reading and making amends to people that I've harmed and just facing my true self and how destructive I was as a person. Not only that, I started gaining confidence to try new things and try to find my purpose in life, right? It's not always comfortable, like humbling myself when I'm trying to do something different or speaking about my feelings when I might be going through something that's challenging. I was never raised that way, so those are some of the things that were very uncomfortable for me in the beginning, but man, the benefits that I have reaped from I don't feel like I'm hiding anything anymore. Number two is that it's shaping me into a confident man, right? I used to be consumed with other people's opinions of me, and I used to base my actions on other people's opinions of me, and I used to seek validation from other people. And granted, I still struggle with this, right? Like, this is a constant thing that I'm battling with, is other people's opinions of me, and I'm 100% sure that I'm not the only one that is experiencing that or has experienced that. And the good thing about getting sober and doing the self-reflection work is that, like, I'm not consumed with other people's opinions of me. I can do whatever I feel like doing regardless of what other people think, right? And that has been such a huge blessing because I've tried so many things in these past 5 years that I probably would have never tried because of other people's thoughts about me or thinking of what other people are saying about me, this, and that. And the reality is, it's none of my business what other people think about me. They're allowed to have their opinions. They're allowed to, talk smack about me. It doesn't matter, right? But it's such a powerful thing when you're able to do what you want to do regardless of what anyone thinks. Number three is I've learned that material things will never make me happy, right? And this is a very big one for me because it's very challenging, especially because we live in such a material world, right? Especially nowadays with social media and entrepreneurship on the rise, and right, like, I used to chase things that I would think would fulfill me. And let me see how I can put this, because I still struggle with this. So I always fall victim to the thought that something else is going to fix a void that's inside of me, right? I'm looking for an external solution for an internal problem, right? And so I fall victim to the thought that I think that something else is going to fix me, and whenever I obtain or achieve that certain thing, it only grants me validation and reassurance for a limited amount of time before I start seeking for the next thing, right? So material things and validation from other people is essentially such a limited thing a limited thing, and it's not going to fulfill an internal problem that I have. It's not going to fulfill a void that's inside of me that may either be caused by a spiritual problem, trauma, some sort of internal problem that I have. It's not going to fix it. It only puts a band-aid on it. Alright, number 4 is I'm constantly learning and unlearning things, right? So, being sober, I got sober when I was 21, so I got sober around a whole bunch of people that were all older than me, right? And so, not all advice is good advice, right? And the way I can distinguish who I'm gonna be taking advice from is when I look at their lives and I tell myself, oh, this is the life, I want this person's life, right? Or I look up to this person. If I don't look up to this person in several aspects of their life, then I'm not gonna necessarily take advice from that person, right? And also, I have to unlearn things that I learned when I was a child. How to deal with emotions, how to treat people, how to talk to people, all these various things that I had to unlearn when I got sober, because I realized that probably wasn't the correct way to deal with certain things. And then also I was taking advice from people that I didn't look up to or didn't necessarily want their life. And so when I look at it like that, I'm like, I probably shouldn't be taking advice from this person, or I kind of shut myself off. And I'm saying that in the most humble way possible, right? I'm always open-minded, and I always hear people out and what they have to say and try to hear their perspective on things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to take their advice. Number 5 is it's exposed my selfishness and how severe my selfishness is. We as humans are so consumed with ourselves that the only thing that most of us care about is ourselves, right? I didn't realize how bad this was until I got sober. So, I am constantly trying to manipulate life so it can best suit my needs, regardless of my intentions, right? I could have good intentions and still try to control a situation. I'm always looking out for myself. When I'm helping other people, I always make sure I tell other people, so it completely defeats the purpose of actually helping another human being out of the kindness of my heart, right? So I'm just helping another person to tell somebody else so I can gain validation for my kindness, right? And so these are the little things that I notice of my selfishness, right? Not only that, but the guys around me, when I first got sober, the guys around me would always tell me to place people first. So when I started getting into the discipline of helping other people, I started to think of myself less, and I started to try to take on other people's problems in a good way, right? To a certain extent, because you don't want people stepping all over you. But when I got into the discipline of putting other people first, I actually started to care and have empathy for other people, which is such a trip now that I think about it. Yeah, because even though I would think even though at first it seems like it's a burden to help other people, I never leave the situation feeling worse than how I went into it. Number 6 is I don't listen to the first negative thought anymore. I have enough awareness that I know, I have enough awareness now that I know that my first thought is usually destructive, negative, fearful, or doubt myself, right? And I've come to learn that, most people self-sabotage themselves, and that's why they don't achieve the things that they necessarily want to in life. At least I was, right? I'm such a self-sabotaging person that I've learned that my first thought is always going to be negative, fearful, and whatnot. And so, sobriety and gaining a relationship with God has definitely taught me that I need to pause in those situations and pray and listen to that voice of God, which is loving, peaceful, and all inclusive. Um, and so that's the voice that I can trust, right? Once I start building that relationship with my higher self, my God, my higher power, I start listening to those thoughts and I start trusting the voice of God, right? Which is always going to be loving, it's always going to be peaceful, it's always going to be selfless, and it's always going to be pure. So 7, and this is the most important thing that I've gained, and it overrides all of these reasons, right? Is that sobriety has granted me a relationship with God, which is bar none, right? It overrides any other reason. My relationship with God is the most important aspect of my life today. Yeah, and it just, it's amazing. It just outweighs everything else. It's amazing the love that God gives me, right? It's amazing the awareness that He has given me, the relationships He has given me, and just the fulfillment that He has granted me, right? I feel like I have a purpose in this life, and due to my relationship with God, I now know that I didn't go through all that pain and suffering for nothing, right? I didn't cause all that pain and suffering for nothing. I can now share it with another person that might be struggling through the same thing. And not only that, man, I could have never designed this life for myself that I live today. Only God can architect the plans that I now have and for my future that I can't even fathom. I can't even think of that stuff. He's my foundation, my direction, my peace, my love, and He guides me through everything. It's like having a tool for life, right? And nothing compares to that, I believe, right? Nothing compares to having a relationship with something that thinks that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. And I think that the biggest mistake that recovering alcoholics, and not only recovering alcoholics but human beings make, is that they think of themselves too much the way that they think of themselves, and they don't think of themselves the way that God thinks of themselves, right? And so too often I don't think of myself the way that God thinks about me. If I thought of myself the way that God thought about me, I would achieve anything that I set my mind to, and everything would be different. But thank God for that, and thank God that I'm imperfect. Because me being imperfect, I have something to strive towards, something of perfection in my mind, and I'm constantly striving to be the image of God. And the cool thing about it is that I fall short all the time, and sobriety has also granted me an environment and a fellowship which I get to share those sins with, and I get to share those shortcomings with, I get to share those struggles with, and know that I am not alone, because we're all here to do the same thing. My fellowship is all here to strive closer to God, right? And so I don't necessarily feel as bad when I fall short, but it grants me, when I do fall short, it grants me an opportunity to get closer to that perfect being, which is God, you know. And so hopefully this helped somebody, hopefully this spoke to somebody, and I want to thank everybody that has subscribed to the channel. I want to thank everybody that watches my videos and comments my videos. I'm very excited for the future of this podcast. I'm very excited for all the guests that I'm gonna be having. The podcast has shifted a little bit, because I've gained more of an interest in how people implement these spiritual principles that they've learned in sobriety, and how they implement them into their business, their personal brand, or their art. And so thank you guys so much for watching. Love you guys, and hope you guys are blessed by the best. Thank you.